Hey guys, so I'm gonna do a quick dev diary just to talk about some of the stuff that I'm trying to do in Bazel. Really, my goal, like the reason why I'm trying to learn all of this is to figure out how to move my game projects that are built in Unreal Engine into Bazel. So it's been it's been pretty tricky, and I really enjoy sharing what I learned. So first off, I just wanted to say that everyone who's watching what's the external dependencies videos and the other videos, leaving comments like this is really motivating, and I'm really happy that I'm actually getting comments and some views. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Uh, so first off, let me just take a look at. So this isn't really to teach anything. I just want to share where I'm at with the project, what I'm doing, and kind of try to reflect a little bit on some of the things that I'm struggling with. So my goal is basically kind of a short-term goal is I want to download Unreal Engine 5 as an external dependency into an environment, a Bazel environment, and I want to use that engine, the downloaded engine, to actually build and execute, create builds, kind of package games, and run validation and tests and and things like that. So just to share how I have things set up right now. So I have a project called Fudge. Not a great idea to name your projects in a silly way, but let me just turn this off. Right. So I have a project called Fudge here, and inside of that I have Fudge game. But just to start off, I have a build action here and a custom rule, and the custom rule is called just custom rule, building with Unreal Engine UE. So I give it a name, run UE process, terrible name. Uh, I define an output file name. So here, this is where I want the log to go in because Unreal logs into a file. So I wanted just while I'm testing this, I wanted to pick up the log file itself. So here's the first thing that I'm trying out. So I have a project file that I'm referencing, and the project file is being referenced to through a package, like an external package, effectively that comes from the workspace file itself. The uh, the other way that I could do this, and I'm not really sure what the smartest thing to do here, is that I mean I have all of the build kind of settings for this project set up in the project. So I could just as well do not Unreal project, but I could just do package. The folder is called Fudge game, and the project file is called. So I could do it like this. So then I'm just doing a reference within this workspace or this package. But what I thought would be smart to do was just to do an external package. And if I take a look at the workspace here, you can see that I've defined a local repository, and the path is just a folder path, so it's called Fudge game, and the name of the repo is UE project. Not sure if this is a good way to do it, but this is what I'm trying. So I do the same thing here. UE compiler, that's coming from another package. So the package is called UE5. And if I take a look here, UE5 is also a local repo for testing, and I just have an absolute path to that. So and then the third thing that I do is I reference the build tool itself. So the build tool is actually a Python tool. So and this is stored within this workspace. So the workspace is defined here. Game labs is the folder under tools. So here we have a build file, and I'm calling this build game client here. We go in here, and here I just have a couple of my kind of Python PyBinary build game client script here. One of the things that I had to figure out is that if I'm doing it like this, I must make sure that the package is visible so that it can be used in other packages. So I put in the visibility here. I don't know if this is needed. The entry point here is this script build game, and and then I kind of reference the same script here as as a source. So going back to the build file here. Yeah, so this is all of the stuff that goes into my custom build steps. So if I go into custom rules, which is here, I'll just remove this. This is just a little test. I declare an output file. So the output file name, this is something that I passed in here as a string. This should probably, I'm guessing that this should be a label, maybe. But we'll see. Not too worried about this right now. Basically what's happening here is that I'm declaring a file. I'm saying that when this runs, there's going to be an output file that is called, there's going to be an output file called, what was it called? My log file. And that gets outputted. So here, and this is where all of the kind of complications start happening. So I define an action, create an action called, create a run action, define the outputs, I set the executable. So CTX, the context object, has, because I passed in the executable build tool here, this is the Python script that is like, because I put this in, this is actually really cool. Because I reference it here, this is now a dependency, and because it is being referenced, this actually gets built and compiled and packaged into an executable, which is really nice. And then I have to mark it as an executable. I'm not really sure why I have to do this, but I saw this on the internet. So the build tool gets passed in here, and we use this build tool as an executable. So the next thing that I do is I want to use the default shell, and the reason for that is that the actual process that's going to be running, the Unreal build kind of process, has a lot of dependencies on the environment, and one of them is .NET. So I think eventually what I'll want to do is and I'm seeing now that it's probably not a smart idea to use the to-do list when I'm just doing these stuff blogs. So I'm just going to cross off everything that I wanted to talk about. But so what I was saying is that I need to use the default environment, but I'm using the default environment until I figure out a good way to actually kind of move the whole environment into the Bazel virtual machine. And right now the reason why I'm doing this is that kind of the tool that I'm going to be running depends on .NET, and when I put this, if I run this without this, then Bazel doesn't know about .NET. So that's a dependency that has to go into it eventually. So. And the last thing that I do is that I pass in the arguments here. I pass in this executable, the compiler path, the path to the compiler, and then I pass in the path to the project file, and then here I just give it a couple of parameters. Where does it go? And this is effectively just testing. So now when I run this, if I do here. I just cleaned my environment. So it's building the Python tool, it's setting everything up for everything to be able to run. It takes a couple of seconds, but it's still actually much faster than I had imagined. So I'm pretty happy about that. All right, so now what we see, the really cool thing here is that let's see what happens. Yeah, here we go. So this is where we started running it. We do run the automation tool. Look, this is the tool that's being run with .NET command line that we're passing in. So here is the and this is coming from this command line is actually coming from the Python tool. So if we take a look at that. Here we go. So here I assemble the command line. So it's build, cook, run. This is just for the Unreal build tool. It needs a project parameter, archive out directory. And here's, I've been trying, you can see that this ends up with an error, and it says that my log file was not created. So I've been trying a couple of ways to pass in the log path to the Unreal process. You can see here that I've actually been playing around with just doing an absolute path, which isn't really working. So something is happening that's causing this not to, like making it so that it's not writing to the log file at least correctly. But anyway, what I wanted to see here, and this is kind of where I'm stuck. I'm actually took a while to actually get this running, but we are running a process, and it starts a bunch of Unreal stuff. It's loading stuff. Everything seems correct here, but then all of a sudden, when it goes into actually starts doing the cook itself, it fails. So my theory is that like it's trying. Well, I'll actually just admit I actually have no idea what's happening. So I can take a look at the log file that's here. It gives a little bit more information. So just take a look at the end here. All right. So command-let exception, editor terminated with execute running cook. And it points to another log. I wonder if that does anything. Probably just the same one. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, okay. So it's actually a little bit different. I hadn't taken a look at that. See, shaders left to compile. Missing closing. Yeah. So I'm not really seeing any errors here. Like I think that's the problem. Yes, I'm not really seeing any errors here, but what I'm guessing is that it's trying to spawn another process, like the shader compiler or something like that, but is not able to. Yeah, so basically this is where I'm kind of stuck, and one of the things that I can also do here is I would also love it if like another thing that I'm really trying to pull off is being able to compile. So I just changed the compile code. Like I had a setting here called no compile, so I'm going to run this again, and now it's going to try to compile, which is what I want. But you'll see what happens when I do that. So here we start seeing it's gonna fail. Right, so I need to have this flag as well. So anytime I make any changes to my Python project, it's gonna trigger a new kind of build of the Python tool, which is it's actually kind of cool. So let's see, why does it keep only states builds can be. I'm actually not sure why this is happening. Well, anyway, I think this is this is a pretty good kind of insight into what I'm focusing on. So the highlights of what I wanna, like what I'm focusing on. Let's see if I can kind of summarize it. So my focus right now is figure out why the cook doesn't start, figure out how to get the .NET dependency into the project, into the environment, and then the kind of the other thing that I wasn't really able to show is figure out how to make it so Unreal 5 can compile code inside of the build environment. So and I guess I also need to figure out why the log file doesn't get written out into the generated. So there's a chance that it's trying to make the log file, but because we exit with because we're exiting with an error code, that's not going to work. So yeah, I'm gonna see how this goes. So this is basically what I'm focusing on and trying to figure out. So hopefully once I have this figured out, I'm hoping that I can do a kind of tutorial video where I kind of walk through these steps and explain what I figured out. And if someone has any suggestions on some of the stuff that I'm struggling with, definitely reach out to me. I'd love to learn more about this and hopefully share some of my findings. So yeah.